So in the past, I had some control issues going on, and God, trust issues, control issues, they go kind of hand in hand. And so a lot of times that trust that you have for other people has been eroded away, and so you have none, and so then you control the relationships around you. And it's a form of keeping yourself. It's like a shield that we put up to keep ourselves from being so vulnerable, is that we try to control the situation to keep it kind of at arm's length, or at least like this. And so what ends up happening is that your relationship, if it doesn't have trust, it's not a very sturdy foundation. Like you have to have kind of a sturdy foundation in order to build that relationship, correct? And so you're sitting there as a controlling person. Trust me, I know, because I have been one. And you're thinking, oh my God, like I have to manage the behavior of this other person that I'm in the relationship with, or they're going to hurt me. And here's the thing, they're going to hurt you no matter what, especially if you're having to manage the behavior. So that's something that you need to start thinking about. If you are managing somebody else's behavior in your relationship via control, I'm going to tell you what that does is that puts you in a parental role. It's parentification of you. And it's infantilization of them. It makes them the child, right? Which is weird because we don't do that. So you want to avoid that dynamic. Okay, it's an unhealthy dynamic, and it tends to go along with codependency. And so I don't know which comes first, the chicken or the egg in that situation. Like who starts is it the control that creates that situation, or is it the bad behavior? It could be a little bit of both, but regardless, it's not a good, healthy dynamic for you to be in. And so from somebody who dealt with it for a good majority of their life, I'm going to tell you, you want to be careful. And it wasn't until later I started teaching. I taught before. I taught elementary before, but I left because teaching elementary school kids was terrifying, especially the littles. I'm not that good at that. I'm not Mother Goose enough, obviously. So I left and I went to grad school. Anyway, I did a lot of things, but I decided that I didn't want to do that anymore. I wanted to go back into education because my husband was in education. And so I wanted to have summers off where he was. And I lucked into this job at a high school near my town. So I got to commute, and have all the fun. And I ended up teaching career-based classes. And from that, I got to teach classes so a career-based class, basically they just want you to learn the skill. And you get to apply the content. You get to create the content into whatever you wanted. But from that, I got into these classes, the graphic design classes. And those are really fun. They're fun, but they are art. It's teaching art. And when you teach art, it's a fine line that you walk on between controlling what they're doing and allowing them to have some freedom. And so I learned that I had to give them more freedom, or they weren't motivated to learn the skill. And so what I did is I made the project more about them, which helped tremendously. But with that, whenever you're teaching art kind of classes, or classes where there's a project at the end that they have to come up with, that they have to dream up out of their brain to do, from that, you learn that you can't control what they're doing. You have to give it over to them so that they can take ownership of it and really want to pour themselves into it, especially this generation, because they don't do what old school students did. They don't do what we did. They don't just do it because they need to. They do it because they're motivated to. And so basically the thing that I keep saying, like, they would pull me over and they'd be like, Miss, should I do this? Miss, should I do that? Miss, should I do this? And my response is always, it's your baby. You get to raise it how you want. Because that's how I wanted them to see it. It's like, this is your creation. I'm not going to tell you what to put in there. This is your baby. You get to raise it how you want. And so from that, learning that you can't, because if you've ever taught high school kids, I'm going to tell you, they're a different animal altogether. You can't control them, or they buck the system. It's a fine line. You can give them procedures, and you can tell them your expectations, and you can expect them to pull their weight. And that's probably what you can do, But control, not a thing. If you want them to learn anything, it's not a thing. But anyway, so you can't control it. And I started seeing that that was like so freeing. And so I started doing that in my relationship too. And so my relationship then, it's like, this is individually you. I want you to be who you are so that I can see if we're compatible. And I want you to bring your actions to the table and your actions to speak for themselves so that I don't have to monitor your behavior or tell you how to love me, because that's so exhausting to have to tell somebody over and over and over again how to love you and them never take responsibility for it. And when you start controlling that situation, it just gives them more of an excuse as to why they don't do it for themselves. And so it's your baby. You can raise it how you want. It gives them the opportunity to show up for you. Now, again, if you have trust issues and you don't want to be vulnerable, that can wreak a little bit of havoc on your security. But you have to understand, this is where your self-love needs to come in, because you need to love yourself enough to know that you deserve better. And that if they aren't giving you better, that you leave that situation and you don't take it like I'm not lovable. You take it like they weren't meeting me at the level that I wanted them to meet me at. And let them go on and find who they need to be with, because the maturity levels need to kind of even out. And so it's one of those things. It's like you have to let go of managing their behavior. And if they disappoint you, or if you can't trust them anymore, that's your sign. Now, people are going to disappoint you a little bit here and there. That's bound to happen. But if it's a repetitive thing where they are continuously disappointing you, or they're continuously hurting you, they're continuously not taking your needs into account, that's your sign. That means they're not for you. And if that's happening, it's going to drain you of all that you are. And it is not love. There's no love there. It's a codependency. It's you having to control and them having to be controlled. And they miss being controlled when you're not controlling them. They don't know what to do whenever you're not controlling them, right? They have no clue. They're like, oh, but I miss you. No, they miss your control. They miss somebody being able to pick up their messes for them. And so you have to remember that, like, control issues, you have to work through them. That trust that you don't have, you have to trust yourself first. Like, trust that you can make the right decision. And trust that you can handle the hurt, because you can. People make it through all kinds of hurt, and they survive it, and so can you. Even if it hurts a lot. You know what hurts less? Choosing yourself. It makes it better. For some reason, it just, that inner child of yours wants you to choose yourself instead of choosing that other person. It's your inner child. It wants to be loved too. So, love yourself enough to let it go. Find somebody who does treasure you and who takes care of you, that you don't have to control, and that you can trust with your heart, because that's what it's all about. If you can't trust them with your heart, they don't deserve your heart. And that's how that goes. You want to be able to trust them. Make better choices. Not that it's your fault, but make better choices for you. Like, realize that you deserve better. Because you do. And there's love out there that will love you for who you are, instead of treating you like you're not worthy of their actions matching their statements. So, but anyway, bye.